one hand, but there are a couple of reasons for that. But first, we will take a look at the bottom of the device where you see that one of the boom sound speakers has been removed. Much like the HTC One A9, there are now capacitive keys down here, including a capacitive home button that is slightly recessed because it also houses a fingerprint sensor. Boom sound is still around, it just has been changed around a bit. At the top there is a full speaker still that also doubles as the phone speaker, and at the bottom is another grill right next to the USB Type-C port that is actually supposed to function more like a subwoofer. The result is supposed to be more fuller, richer sound coming out of the phone speakers while you're looking at media or gaming, for example. But the other main change is on the backing, where we have now what's called the silhouette design. Edges or slopes are now all around the rim of the device, which provide a bit of a curve that make the device feel even better in the hand as it contours to the shape of the palm, which helps with the 5.2-inch screen's handling. But really, it is a nice design choice because it accentuates the HTC area in the middle while the light reflects off the edges to provide that silhouetted look. And 2.5D glass covers the LCD5 display, which comes in at Quad HD resolution. Now, so far the colors look quite nice on this display, but what HTC really wanted to drive home is the fact that it adheres to the NTSC standard much more than any other phone out there. Underneath the surface is the Snapdragon 820 with 4GB of RAM and yes, micro SD card expansion. As we continue with hardware, the fingerprint sensor in that home button seems to work pretty well thus far. Registering a fingerprint is as easy as you would expect it to be on any Android device these days, and it's just a matter of holding the finger on that particular area and the phone will wake itself and then unlock after reading your fingerprint. Battery life hinges on a 3000 mAh battery, which has proven itself in other phones already to be a good capacity for maybe 1 to 1.5 days worth, hopefully 2 days with good power saving features. Whether or not it does make it to that 2-day mark is something we'll save for the full review, but with Quick Charge 3.0 and that USB Type-C port, half an hour's worth of charging could bring 1 day worth of battery life overall, which is a pretty nice prospect. One of the biggest additions in the HTC 10 is the ability for this phone to really drive good headphones, and with a DAC inside and also a headphone amp that is built into that headphone jack found centered on the top, the HTC 10 is supposed to provide one of the best audio experiences around. The camera has always been a bit of a sore spot for HTC, but the Ultra Pixel returns and now bring 12 Ultra Pixels in the main camera at 1.55 micron sizes. Laser autofocus and optical image stabilization are also included to back up this f1.8 aperture package. There are plenty of modes in the app, including hyperlapse and a pro manual mode to cater all of the settings for a better shot, and 4K video recording is also available, but it now records high-res audio, which seems in line with the boom sound capabilities. The front camera might please quite a few people with 5 megapixels that also boasts f1.8 aperture and a slightly wider field of view for better selfies. But what really makes it nice is the included optical image stabilization. This is a first for a front camera and it will allow for even better photos in lower light conditions, not to mention the ability to create more stabilized selfie videos. And in software, we do have the return of HTC Sense. You still get the regular home screens, and the app drawer is included if you were worried about that in this version of Android, and you also get blink feed on the side for an easy way of taking a look at the latest headlines. HTC made a big point of saying that in cooperation with Google, they are trying to consolidate their applications. Where there were once duplicates with HTC apps and Google apps, there may now just be one application. For example, the messaging app is still available despite there being a Google version of Messenger, and instead of having their own gallery inside of HTC Sense, they are now just going to use Google Photos. A couple of software additions include Boost Plus, which brings some finite control to the RAM management, storage, and even background application management for better battery life. And the theming engine has been enhanced to provide even better customization, but those are all things that we will leave off for our full review. The HTC 10 is available for pre-orders beginning today on April 12th, with shipping in early May. The unlocked edition will come in silver and gray and will cost $699. And so, there you have it for this first look and hands-on with the HTC 10. We have had our hands on this review unit for a little bit now, so our full review might be coming a little bit sooner than you think. With a solid and beautiful design and focus on audio and camera this time around, the HTC 10 just might be the alternative to the other flagships we've seen this year that you've been waiting for. But you're going to have to see what we think in our full review coming very soon. Keep it tuned to Android Authority for all of that and even more coverage on the HTC 10, and make sure you subscribe to this channel so you can see and keep up with all of that, because we are your source for all things Android.
According to HTC, smartphones reached an inflection point about 2 years ago. Somewhat dead.
Welcome to MMA Tonight. I'll be covering the top headlines from today in MMA. Okay guys, so this one's kind of interesting. Apparently Georges St. Pierre is hosting a brand new TV show. So some of you may remember back in 2010 that Georges St. Pierre revealed his passion for paleontology. Now, unlike most athletes, the longtime UFC welterweight champion said that he doesn't watch sports during his free time. Instead, he spends it reading books or going to museums to learn more about dinosaurs and the like. Ask me a question about the Jurassic period or the Cretaceous period, and I probably could answer it. Seriously, I'm into paleontology. That's a study of prehistoric life, he revealed. You know that the Tyrannosaurus Rex was found with feathers? Yes, feathers! Now fast forward to 2016, and it looks like Georges St. Pierre has gotten what he wanted, as he used this break from MMA to pursue his lifelong dream. This April, the History Channel in Canada will release a minimum of 2 half-hour specials called The Boneyard with Georges St. Pierre. The show will have the MMA star traveling around the world in search of these prehistoric beasts, all in the name of science. The episodes air on April 14th at 9 and 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, with repeat airings happening throughout the week. So, will you guys be tuning in? Okay guys, so guess who replaced Conor McGregor in the new Vin Diesel flick? So UFC middleweight Michael Bisping will appear in the action film X: The Return of Xander Cage. Bisping announced the role via Instagram on Wednesday. Now guys, the third iteration of the action series stars Vin Diesel and Samuel L. Jackson, as well as Ruby Rose, Tony Jaa, Donnie Yen, and Rory McCann. The movie is expected to hit theaters in January 2017. Now Bisping has some acting experience with roles in several movies as well as an appearance on the Cinemax series Strike Back. Conor McGregor was originally rumored to star in the film, but with his rematch against Nate Diaz at UFC 200 on the horizon, those plans have apparently changed. Bisping is coming off of a unanimous decision triumph over Anderson Silva at UFC Fight Night in London on February 27th, his third straight win in the octagon. The Count doesn't currently have another bout booked. So next week, Vanderlei Silva will make his return to the combat sports arena for a grappling tag team match at Rizin Fighting Federation 3 on April 17th. The Brazilian will team up with Kayoshi Tamura to take on Kazushi Sakuraba and Hideo Takoro in the main event and is treating the bout as a tune-up for his return to MMA. Vanderlei spoke to Ariel Helwani on the latest edition of the MMA Hour and expressed his interest in a fight with street fighting sensation Kimbo Slice. I want to make interesting fights, Silva said. In Bellator, one guy that I would love to fight is Kimbo. And I'm not going to the ground. I want to fight in his area. I want to do a good show. I want to give emotion to my fans. When I can't do that, I'm going to really stop, but right now I feel good. Guys, Vanderlei is still suspended by the Nevada Athletic Commission until 2017 for evading a drug test in 2014, although the axe murderer is campaigning for a fight this summer. It's expected that Silva will compete at one of the Bellator events outside of Nevada, possibly at a scheduled UK pay-per-view in July. When speaking of Bellator, Silva was quick to praise former Strikeforce CEO Scott Coker, who has taken the promotion in a different direction since taking over the company from Bjorn Rebney in 2014. I like what Scott Coker and Mike Hogan are doing, said Silva, explaining why he decided to sign a deal with Bellator. They offered me really good money, more than what I received before in the other event. I like the numbers. It's good for me. It's good for them. It's good for the fans. I'm gonna come back. Rizin Fighting Federation 3, which will host Silva's tag team match in the main event, will take place in Japan on April 17th. There's been a lot of talk, guys, since the UFC announced that their women's bantamweight champion Miesha Tate would be fighting Amanda Nunes at UFC 200. Lenny Fresquez, manager of former champion Holly Holm, claims that Tate chose to take a weaker opponent in Nunes. However, Tate's manager responded to that claim and said that the immediate rematch against Holm was never a discussion between Tate's team and the UFC. Now, Tate spoke with MMA Junkie about how Holm's manager's cocky attitude ended up being their downfall. I was told by the UFC that her management walked in there and told them that I was going to be a tune-up fight, Tate said. That is word for word what I was told. They didn't do it as a favor to me. It's not like they were, we really want to do this for Miesha, we'll just give her a chance. No, they gave themselves the chance to have a big payday and remain the champion, and they thought I was going to be an easy fight, and it backfired. They did it for themselves because they thought they were going to win. They didn't do it for my sake. So for me to turn around and say, I'm going to do this for Holly's sake, We both went in there never having fought each other before, both with an opportunity to win. And if Holly had won, I guarantee you she would not be giving me an immediate rematch. She would be looking to fight the next best person, either Ronda or someone she hadn't fought. So when you look at it from that perspective, they can't really say they did me a favor. I've beaten Holly, finished Holly, and now I want to fight the girl who's next in line. Miesha Tate will look to defend her title for the first time on July 9th in Las Vegas, Nevada at UFC 200 against Amanda Nunes. Alright guys, so Joe Rogan talks about Jon Jones's, quote, risky fight. So despite saving the UFC from possibly having to cancel or downgrade UFC 197, former UFC light heavyweight champion Jon Jones has everything to lose in his fight with short-notice opponent Ovince St. Preux on April 23rd. Now after UFC light heavyweight champion Daniel Welcome to MMA Tonight. Welcome to MMA Tonight. I'll be covering the top headlines from today in MMA. Alright guys, so here's an update on BJ Penn's investigation. So the UFC made official on Wednesday the return of UFC Hall of Famer BJ Penn, as well as the results of an investigation conducted into allegations of misconduct. Penn, who is 37, will meet Dennis Seaver in a featherweight bout at UFC 199 at the Forum in Inglewood, California, his first fight since announcing his retirement in the summer of 2014. The bout was initially reported by Yahoo Sports. On Thursday, the UFC released a formal statement on the matter, which noted that no actions, civil or criminal, have been taken against Penn involving the allegations, but reserved the right to act should new information come to light. Now, BJ Penn, who has been training at Jackson's MMA in preparation for his comeback, is just one of two fighters who's held championships in multiple weight classes. But he was 1-5-1 in his last 7 fights, which included 3 losses to Frankie Edgar. Seaver is 1-3 in his last 4, dropping fights last year to Conor McGregor and Tatsuya Kawajiri. Alright guys, so Daniel Cormier shared some interesting things when he recently talked about Jon Jones. So everyone, including the current UFC light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier, has not been able to crack the code on physically beating former champ Jon Bones Jones. Matt Hamill is the only one that has a win over Jones on record, but that came after Hamill was brutalized by elbows from Jones that were ruled illegal. Now, the illegal elbows by Jones caused him to be controversially disqualified from the bout, resulting in his only loss, which was back in 2009. Cormier was scheduled to fight Jones in a rematch at UFC 197 on April 23rd, but withdrew from the bout after suffering an injury in training. Cormier spoke with Fox Sports on the riddle that is Jon Jones and how his replacement Ovince St. Preux will do when he faces Jones at UFC 197. I never downplay what Jones is to the sport and what he's been to the sport, Cormier told Fox Sports. As a competitor, I have to be honest with myself. This is a tough one for Ovince. He's obviously a big, long guy that could cause some issues for most people, but Jon is who he is for a reason. Although Jones and Cormier have one of the most heated rivalries the UFC has seen, Cormier is honest with himself and in Jones' abilities. He's the greatest fighter to ever put on a pair of gloves. This one is tough for Ovince to get done. This will be a very, very difficult task for him, DC stated. Now guys, remember, Cormier stirred the pot when he offered to coach and help St. Preux prepare for Jones with his fight camp at AKA, but says that even